Okay, I just want to take a minute and go over each of the 5 sketches. The first one says draw 2 segments that have the same midpoint. Mark your drawing to show congruent segments. Okay, so this one, really just don't overthink. So here's a segment. Oh, let's do a better color, sorry. Here's a segment, and if this is going to be the midpoint, I need to mark that these 2 segments are congruent. Okay, now I want another segment that also has this midpoint. Okay, so it has to share that midpoint. So one way to do this would be then to draw an intersecting segment. And then I just need to show, if that's also the midpoint, I need to show those 2 segments are congruent. I've also seen some people do this. They'll draw a segment and mark it as a midpoint. Okay, and then what they'll do is that one needs to be a segment of another, or a midpoint of another segment. So they'll extend it and then do something like this. So if I call this A, B, C, D, and E, then C is the midpoint of both BD and of AE. Draw and mark a figure in which M is the midpoint of ST, SP is congruent to PT, and T is the midpoint of PQ. So I'm going to start with M is the midpoint of ST. So I'm going to draw myself a segment ST. M is the midpoint, so again I need to mark my midpoints. I need to mark that SP is congruent to PT. Now notice I don't have a point P yet. So I'm just going to place it here because I want SP and PT to be congruent. Then it says T is the midpoint of PQ. Okay, so here's T, here's P. I need to find Q. So if T has to be in the middle, that means I'm going to need to extend this segment here to make that Q. Now, if T is the midpoint and PT has 2 tick marks, that means TQ must also have 2 tick marks. For number 3, it says draw pentagon PENTA with PE congruent to EN. Okay, so pentagon, that's 5 sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, again, name your points in a circle like we talked about. Then I want PE congruent to EN. And that's it. Number 4, draw and mark hexagon NGAH or XEH with angle HEX congruent to angle EXA. So I need a hexagon, that's 6 sides. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and name it NGAXEH. And it says we want angle HEX congruent to EXA. A lot of people had problems with this because they weren't recognizing this was angle HEX. So if you didn't realize that, this is a symbol for angle. The last one is to draw a concave pentagon. Okay, now if you're having a hard time drawing figures, think about in terms of putting points on a circle. Like if I needed a nonagon and I needed 9 points, I needed 9 vertices. If I were to put 9 points, 7, 8, 9 points, if I connect those, that would create a nonagon. Okay, so it's kind of like a cheater way to create a polygon. Now, granted, that's very sloppy, but you get the idea. So here's the key, though, the reason I'm telling you this. If I would have moved one of those points inside my circle, that nonagon would have become concave. Okay, so when I need to make my pentagon concave, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I cave it in on itself like that, 5, I then have a concave pentagon.